Right, Amanda Staveley has today met with Steve Bruce and the Newcastle squad for the first time since the Saudi-backed takeover of the club. We still expect Bruce to be relieved of his duties this week before the Super Sunday match against Tottenham at St James's Park. Well, we can head to the training ground now and speak to Keith Downey. I believe he's moved in that time. In fact, Keith, you're always on the move, aren't you? Outside St James's Park right now. From hour to hour it develops, Keith, and as does your journey. So tell us about the latest developments. Since the last time I spoke to you, we've seen shots of Steve Bruce.
Yeah, nothing like a change of scenery quickly, Jasper. But here I am. I'm here at St James's Park now. Yeah, it's been another interesting day on Tyneside. Amanda Staveley was obviously here last week. She visited the staff at the stadium behind me on Friday morning. Her plan was on Friday afternoon to go up and meet Steve Bruce and the playing squad, but they were actually on a scheduled day off due to the international break. They were back in this afternoon, and having had a couple of days with the family down in London, Amanda Staveley and her husband Mehrdad Guddusi decided to pay a visit to the training ground for the very first time. They arrived there around noon today. The manager Steve Bruce and the players were all in around an hour before that, and she just went round having a pretty informal chat to everyone. There's some pictures of her meeting some of the players in the canteen where they had gathered. Obviously some of the players still away on international duty at the moment. There was a quick word with the backroom staff and the masseuse. And then it was out onto the pitch to take in training and just look at basically what they've taken over here. There were also informal chats with the manager Steve Bruce. As I say, she spent 90 minutes there, so she wasn't with the manager too long, but I think she was wanting to pick his brains on where he sees the club moving forward and just asking him a few questions about the inner workings of the club up at the training ground. Interestingly, she's actually described the training ground before as an awful place due to the condition of it. So I think one of her main priorities will be to get that place either replaced or refurbished pretty quickly. The other one, of course, is that of the manager Steve Bruce himself. And although she had those conversations today, it's my understanding no definite decision has been made. We've certainly not had any confirmation from the new owners that Steve Bruce is to be relieved of his duties. But as I understand it, I think it's very unlikely that Steve Bruce, and I think he realises this himself as well, very unlikely that Steve Bruce will be in charge come Sunday against Tottenham Hotspur in that first game under the new regime. Bruce was in for 5.5 hours today, arrived at 11 o'clock, and we caught a quick glimpse of him leaving at 4:30, just around half an hour or so ago. So yeah, interesting times. Amanda Staveley and part of the consortium up at the training ground for the first time today as they get to work on making some of those really, really big decisions that need to be made here at Newcastle United for the club to move forward into that new era.
Yeah, football fans always love speculation, whether that be new players or, in this case, a new manager at the helm. Keith, what are you hearing on that?
Well, I mean, I think firstly they need to sort the Steve Bruce situation out, and I think because the takeover moved so quickly last week, I don't actually think they've got anyone lined up right now. We hear some big names mentioned, the likes of Lucien Favre, who's favourite with the bookmakers. We've heard Steven Gerrard, we've heard Brendan Rodgers mentioned. I do think they want to bring in a big name manager and someone that can, in their eyes, take the club forward to the next level with the hope of playing in Europe in the next probably couple of seasons. But I don't think they want to make a rash decision. They don't want to make a quick one. They say they want to do things gradually and properly. They're doing that. They've not just gone straight up to the training ground today and said, Steve Bruce, you're sacked. They wanted to have a chat with him and meet him in person for the very first time. As I say, I think it would be difficult for Steve Bruce to be in the dugout on Sunday, and I think part of the reason for that is what the supporters think. They've made it clear that they want Steve Bruce to go. There was a fans poll on the Newcastle United Supporters Trust last week, and I think 95% of those supporters said they wanted Steve Bruce to leave. They've made it pretty clear, and I think there's a kind of feeling that they wouldn't want that negative, is how the supporters would see it, in the background on what is to be a day of celebration. So that is why I think that they will make a decision to remove Steve Bruce before them. Whether that comes tomorrow or maybe later in the week, we'll have to see. He obviously has to be moved from a big contract. There's an £8 million payoff that Steve Bruce will be due if they decide to sack him. So Yeah, it would be unlikely, I think, for him to be in the dugout. I think it would be more likely that they'll put someone in temporary until they decide on who they want to announce as their first big managerial signing since taking over last week. Graham Jones is already at the club, the first team coach. He arrived separate to Steve Bruce and the rest of his backroom staff. Graham Jones, of course, who was working with Gareth Southgate in England in the summer at the Euros. He arrived in January. Steve Bruce has been in charge for just over 2 years now. So that would be a situation where you could see happening. You could see him being given the reins on a temporary position. But as I say, nothing definite, nothing official yet from the football club or the new owner. Steve Bruce took training as normal today, and we'll see what develops in the days ahead. But I think what they probably do have on their side is they've got until Sunday. It's the late kick-off on Sunday, so they've got a little extra day to work with before they make those decisions. But they said they'll take time. They said they're not going to make any knee-jerk reactions, and I think they're proving that already.
Yeah, speaking of that late kick-off at St James's Park, live on Sky on Sunday, Keith, up against Tottenham. Are you expecting to see any of this new ownership there?
Yeah, I believe Yasser Al-Rumayyan, who is the new non-executive chairman of the club and also the head of the Public Investment Fund, the governor of the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia. The plan is for him to travel here to Tyneside at the weekend and take in the match here at St James's Park behind me in what will be a big fanfare, a big celebration. Tickets are sold out already for that game, and it's the first time in a long time that all tickets are sold out here at St James's Park for a match. That shows how excited the supporters are for that. So yeah, expect Yasser Al-Rumayyan to make that journey from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia to be here to watch that one on Sunday and look at what his company have purchased on the pitch.
Absolutely. All right, Keith, thank you very much.